Okay, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all our participants who are joining us on session 6 of the Champions of Human Resources Management program. I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Omar Bisher Baru, and I am the facilitator of this program, and as well as the founder of Learning Impact. Learning Impact is a corporate training, organizational effectiveness, and strategy consulting firm that has provided corporate training, organizational effectiveness solutions, and strategy consulting solutions to clients since we started in 2010. We are very happy to run this program. And for the benefit of our new members or the people who are participating for the first time, I would like to give a brief overview of the program, just so that you can understand in terms of the context of what we are doing and what we are trying to achieve. So again, I'd like to welcome all of our participants, new and old, to the Champions of HR program. Series 6, and particularly today to HR as an administrative expert. So let me start off, as I promised, just sharing with you high level in terms of what this program is about and what we seek to achieve. Before we do that, I would just like to confirm, mic check. Can everyone hear me?
Very well.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I can hear you, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's kick it off. So the HR Champions of HR program, as you can see on the screen, is a capacity building program and mentoring program for human resources management professionals. The overarching goal of this program is to move the practice of HR from being operational to being more strategic. The entire program is anchored on the work. The theoretical foundation is on the work of David Ulrich. David Ulrich is a professor at the Michigan Ross Business School in the United States. And he came up in the 1990s with this amazing theory and framework called HR Champions, and about the 4 capabilities of HR Champions. HR as a strategic partner, HR as a change manager, HR as an administrative expert, and HR as a people champion. And he basically provided evidence to support the fact that if HR practitioners can imbibe these 4 capabilities, then HR can get a better seat at the strategic table and can help our organizations to enhance their effectiveness, their productivity, and help organizations to achieve the ultimate sustainable competitive advantage. So this program is built around all of these. As I said, the program is facilitated by me and put together by my colleagues at Learning Impact. The sessions take place monthly on the 3rd Saturday of every month. And because this is session 6, you would understand that it has taken place 6 times or 5 times already. And this is the 6th installment of this program. We have a WhatsApp group that is available for continuous learning, mentoring, and networking among the participants in this program. And we encourage you to indicate and add yourself to that WhatsApp group. If you would like to do so right now, feel free. My colleague and the program organizer is captured here as a Learning Impact Model. So right now, you can actually send a message to Learning Impact Model with your WhatsApp number, and you can be immediately connected to the WhatsApp group. So again, welcome to all our participants. It is HR as an administrative expert. And if you recall, when I talked about and I introduced Dave Ulrich, I mentioned specifically that one of the 4 capabilities is HR as an administrative expert. So let's jump right into it. But before I do, of course, it's good to explain how we expect everyone to behave. So typically, This session will last between an hour and 1.5 hours. But typically we would never exceed 1.5 hours. It would consist of me presenting the content and sometimes breaking in between to ask for your input, to challenge you with some thinking, to challenge you with some activity or exercise, and so on and so forth. And then there will be opportunities for you to give feedback, to ask questions, and so on. So please wait for some of those breaks where I would indicate and invite you to ask a question, to participate, to give feedback, and so on and so forth. And today's session, we're going to have a number of videos that we're going to play, and we can watch those videos and learn from those videos together. So please be ready for that. We understand that sometimes people will be kicked out of the Zoom meeting because of problems with the internet or their connection in one way or the other. Please bear with the internet. It is completely outside our control. But if you do get kicked out, feel free to rejoin. You'll be admitted back and so on. And of course, because you are members of this network, you have first access to all of our old editions that are available, that have been carefully curated. And you also have access to this particular edition electronically after the session, because the session is being recorded. And I'll just confirm for my colleagues that yes, the session is being recorded. Excellent. So let's proceed now in terms of our outline and learning objectives. And before I say that, one last very important administrative note, please, if we are not speaking at any point in time, I invite you to kindly put your microphones on mute so that the background sound from you does not disturb the proceedings, right? So we appreciate that. Thank you very much, everyone. And we see that we have quite a full house, so let's jump right into it. We like to start our conversations, all our conversations, by exploring theoretical foundations. What does the evidence, what does the science of organizational behavior and human resources management teach us about this subject? Human resources management, as much as it's an art, is also a science, and it is built on evidence. So we will start off by exploring some of the theoretical foundations that support the practice of human resources as an administrative expert. Then we will jump into the importance of HR. Why is it important for HR to be administrative experts? What difference does it make? We would explore some of these reasons that are also reflective of the theoretical foundations that we have discussed. Thirdly, I would share with you a number of focal areas that are by no means exhaustive, meaning that there are many things that HR people should be able to do to be administrative experts, but we will share quite a number of them. I will introduce you to them. And then after that, we will focus on 2 of them for this session. So we cannot go through all of the areas of administrative expertise, but we will focus on 2 of them. And on the screen, number 1, implementing HR programs and projects, which is really about include the skills for project management from the HR perspective. So how can HR managers implement HR programs and projects effectively? We are going to explore that. And secondly, managing meetings. How can HR managers manage and optimize the return on investments on the meetings that they have within the organizations? Okay, and as usual, we will wrap up with a review and commitments from you, the participants. So for those of us who are just joining us again, welcome. My name is Omagbise Baro. I am the founder of Learning Impact, and we are very happy to have you here on the Champions of HR Mentoring Program session 6 for the month of April 2024, where we are focusing on HR as an administrative expert, one of the 4 capabilities of the HR Champion Framework that was put together by Dave Ulrich of the Michigan Ross Business School in the United States. So we start off, as I promised, with theoretical foundations. What does the scientific evidence and the study of organizational behavior teach us about the capability of administrative expertise? There are 4 theories that we can reflect on, and you can see them on our screen. The first is the resource dependency theory. This theory basically explains that organizations depend on resources, some of these resources internal and some of these resources external, and that it is therefore incumbent on organizations, their leaders, their managements, as well as the HR managers that are very important in organizations to manage these resources. Some of these resources include people. Some of these resources include money. Some of these resources include technology. Some of these resources include time. You've got to, as a business leader and a HR manager, understand that your organization depends on these resources, internal and external, to be effective. And it is therefore your responsibility as an administrative expert to maximize these resources and optimize them. The second theory on the screen is called the agency theory. The agency theory is a theory that explains the relationship between the stakeholders, the principals, the owners of the business, and the employees, and the critical role that managers, like human resources managers, have in managing the expectations of both sides. That you have on one hand shareholders, regulators, financiers and investors, and then you have on the other side the employees and the managers in the organization. And that agency theory says that they have mutual expectations of each other. In order to maximize and ensure that these expectations are met, human resources managers, as the key managers of organizational assets, the critical organizational asset of people, needs to be able to balance this. And one of the ways to deliver on this agency relationship is to ensure the smooth running and the smooth operation of the organization. So again, agency theory points to us the importance that HR managers have to place on efficiency, on effectiveness, which is really about administrative expertise. Thirdly, we've got contingency theory. Contingency theory is a very interesting theory in organizational behavior that talks to us about the fact that every organization is different. The context, the reality, the nuances, and the idiosyncrasies of every organization is different. Therefore, in order to be able to achieve sustainable competitive advantage, which is what every organization wants, HR people need to understand the context of their organization, and they've got to manage the operations of that organization based on that context. They've got to develop strategy based on that context. They have to understand the processes in the organization, the systems, the people. All of those things speak to effectiveness and efficiency that is at the heart of administrative expertise. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, but certainly not exhaustively, is systems theory. And systems theory talks about the interconnectedness, the relationships between the different systems that exist within the organization and how these systems work together collaboratively to ensure that the organization achieves its results. So how is this important? It's important because as a HR manager, you are working with different systems, working in a systematic organization that consists of different departments, different units, different processes, different procedures, different policies, and that all of these systems, policies, procedures, and so on need to work like a well-tuned BMW engine to be able to achieve the results that the organization wants. And that, my dear friends, will be impossible without a good measure of efficiency and effectiveness that are at the heart of administrative expertise. So I trust that this introduction to some of the empirical evidence and scientific evidence that supports administrative expertise has been valuable. The overall summary of the point is this, that there is research that shows and demonstrates clearly that if organizations want to optimize, if organizations want to achieve sustainable competitive advantage, that they must manage their resources properly, that the relationship between stakeholders in the organizations must be managed properly, that the context and the nuances of the organization must be reflected in its strategy and its implementation, and that the organization must be able to manage the different composite parts to ensure that the system is harmonized, and that all of these things will only happen when organizations are effective and efficient, and when HR, as the key driver of organizational performance and the key manager of organizational culture, as well as organizational assets of people, is an administrative expert. And if you think about all of this, then the next slide is pretty easy to digest. Why is this important? Why should HR people be administrative experts? And some of the ideas for this slide already come from the previous one. The first one I will talk about, which is really the overarching issue, is what we describe in the world of strategy as the execution premium. The execution premium is about the fact that the most important thing that you want in your organization is not a strategy. It's not a plan. The most important thing that organizations need is execution. Execution. And the execution premium was first spoken about by a gentleman called Ram Charan. And Ram Charan is a professor, I believe, in Stanford University, or professor emeritus by now, because he must be long retired. And he talks about the importance of execution. How do we execute? And if you think about execution, execution is about what? It's about efficiency and effectiveness. It is about administrative expertise. And what are the different reasons why this is important? Because number one, compliance. HR has to ensure that HR policies, procedures are compliant, and that there is risk management in HR, meaning that we minimize the possibilities that we, for example, hire the wrong people, hire people that are criminals, hire people that misrepresented what they have said, that we manage the resources of HR properly, all of these, that we comply with the rules, regulations, and laws and ethical standards for managing an organization. Because if we don't do this, then the basic foundation upon which the organization exists crumbles. The second important reason why HR people need to be administrative experts is that we are in a world of data. We are in the data-driven world where data is important. And by data, I'm talking about information and analytics, isn't it? To support data-driven decision-making, HR people must be administrative experts. They must be experts who can curate data, who can analyze data, who can report on data, so that that data is then used to drive the quality of decisions that the organization needs. HR administrative expertise is also important, ladies and gentlemen, because of cost optimization. You want to manage the cost of your resources. Remember the resource dependency theory that we spoke about. So one of the things is that you want to optimize the cost. You want to get the best results or the best returns on your investments in resources. If HR is not an administrative expert, if HR is not disciplined, does not have thorough processes, does not pay attention to execution, then you would find that your costs are over-bloated and that your organization is making less profit and returns for its stakeholders. Again, the agency theory that we spoke about. Administrative expertise is also important to HR people because you want to improve the employee experience. You want, when employees come into the organization and have their onboarding and do their training and get their performance contracts, you want, when employees go through an appraisal, when employees are leaving the organization, as they make progress from one level, one grade to the next, you want the experience of your employees to be world class. This requires disciplined execution, disciplined processes, disciplined employee experience management, which we talked about in our previous session, where we talked about HR as a people champion. And for those of you who were there, you may remember this. And for those of you who were not, feel free to go and check out the videos that are now available on YouTube. Finally, but not exhaustively, you also want a talent management system that works. And talent management speaks to more of the strategic parts of human resources management, whether it is performance management, whether it is employee engagement, whether it is strategic resourcing. You want your talent management, your succession planning, and all of those critical ingredients of strategic HR to work at top notch. Because when they work top notch, when you are, for example, able to, like I say, get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, and then find the A players that will drive your organization and drive the bus, then you are going to create sustainable competitive advantage for your organization. So your talent management is critical. And when you speak to the most successful leaders across all industries everywhere in the world, and you ask them, what was the most important ingredient to their success? They will tell you that it was harnessing their human resources, aka talent management. So it's very important that we manage our talent and try to optimize it. And we can't do this if we are not administrative experts. So ladies and gentlemen, it's 25 minutes past the hour. And I'm going to pause now and ask, what do you think? What do you think about what we've discussed so far? We started off talking about the theoretical foundations, and then we have explored the importance of administrative expertise to HR and to the organization. I will pause and I'll hear from you, perhaps 2 or 3 comments, questions, or clarifications. The floor is open, please. Anybody? Questions? Comments?
Okay, so Eclipse here. So I just want to find out about so basically the HR, the role of a HR manager is to really drive the employee experience and really understand the company vision, goal, and convert that to the employee experience.
Yes.
You know, because I like and in terms of talent management, if you can expand on that a little more, how do you recognize talent management and how could you optimize it?
All right. So let me, yes, to your first part of your comment, which was a comment, yes, and a question. HR's role is really to support the organization to achieve sustainable competitive advantage by focusing on the people in the organization and the culture of the organization, that it is primary mandate. And like you said, part of that mandate, as far as this framework of HR champions is concerned, also expands to, building an effective system, making sure that the system works like I described, like a well-tuned BMW engine. And I use that only as an analogy, right? But to work effectively, because you know that people, culture, and resources have to be streamlined. Things have to work. There needs to be process. There needs to be discipline, the absence of which your strategy that you referred to will not work. You can have the best crafted vision, the best crafted mission and goals for your organization. But if you don't have disciplined execution, what we call the execution premium, it will not work. Now, the second part of your comment and question speaks to talent management. And you said I should explore it a bit more. So talent management is really about answering this question. Who are the right people for your organization, Eclipse, and all the participants here? Let us define the clear archetype What is the perfect employee? When we define that perfect employee for every role, then we ask ourselves, where can we find these people? Where are they? How can we attract them to our business? What do we need to pay such people on a sustainable basis? And then, how do we deploy them? So we now start talking about performance management, another important part of talent management. So what KPIs? How do we set goals for them? How do we set expectations for these people? How do we manage those expectations? How do we review those expectations? How do we get rid of the wrong people? Because part of talent management is also asking yourself, who is on the bus and who needs to get off the bus, right? So these are the key questions of talent management. Talent management also speaks to questions like, for example, learning and development, leadership development. How do we create a pipeline of leaders? How do we strengthen the capabilities of our managers and build managerial bench strength? These are critical issues of talent management. How do we identify the very best people in our organization so that we don't lose them? So part of talent management is also the identification of high potentials. Who are the very best people in our organization? Because we don't want to lose those people. And while we recognize we don't want to lose them, we also recognize that everybody will leave one day. So guess what? We want to extract as much value from them while they are with us. Because if they are truly talented, if they are truly special, if they are truly the best employees in your organization, shooting out all the lights, like we say, then we need to draw from their expertise and ensure that it infects the entire organization. Final part of talent management would include succession planning. What is the future of our business? Where are we going? If this person leaves, if this key stakeholder is no longer with us, if the CEO is no longer with us for whatever reason, what is the succession plan? These are the critical questions that we need to answer in the world of talent management that is valuable to this conversation. Yeah, so I hope that helps, Ecliffe. I see a few more questions or comments.
Yes, thanks very much.
You're very welcome. I see a few more questions here. Christiana says, from this conversation, can we say a HR is an aspect of administration, or that HR needs to have administration skills to function effectively? I would certainly say that HR is not part of administration. HR is a strategic lever of the organization. But one of the capabilities that HR has, which is the second part of your statement, the second option, is that HR needs to be an administrative expert. And what is administrative expertise? It's really about disciplined execution, efficiency, and effectiveness. Okay? I'm going to come. There's a hand from Ladile, but Ladile, I'll come to you shortly. Let me take the questions. Nwakaku says, what professional course can I take on administration to enhance my performance as an administrator or become an expert on the administrative process? Well, I think you've already started. You're on the right track. You are here in this class learning about HR as an administrative expert. We do have courses that are related to some of these things that you can actually organize for your organization or for yourself. But I suspect that any good course that focuses on the execution premium. So let's not think about administration as just filing and record keeping and keeping the office clean. Let's think about administrative expertise as execution, as efficiency and effectiveness. And don't worry, Wakaku, as we continue for the next 45 minutes or so, at least I will give you a bit of sampling of some of the skills for being an effective administrative expert right here on this program. And we can always build on that as we go along. And Perpetual says, good afternoon. I would like you to share more light on data-driven decision-making. Okay, so data-driven decision-making, Perpetual, is about data. It's about, we're in the world of data analytics, of big data, of crunching data, and evidence-based decision-making. You don't want to take decisions. Let's say, for example, and we're going to talk about that Perpetual as an example very soon. Let's say you have implemented a performance management program. You've just launched a new performance management program in your organization. You spent money, with consultants, invested in all sorts of systems and policies and procedures and so on. And You are running this program. Now, you want to have data. You want to have information, analytics that tells you, for example, how were we doing as an organization before this program began? Where were we? Okay, 3 months into the implementation of this program, where are we now? How have we grown? Has this program been effective? Has it met in fact, let's even ask another question, Perpetua. What are the goals for this program? Are we just throwing millions of naira, hundreds of thousands of dollars at consultants and systems and technology? Are we measuring the impact of this performance management program? Without data, we can't answer these questions. And this is one of the biggest problems with HR professionals. Because what then happens is that the stakeholders, remember the agency theory, the stakeholders who run the organization, the stakeholders who are the financiers, who are the board members, whose sweat and blood were used to set up the organization, are going to ask very soon, show me whether this $1 million investment that we have made in performance management, in hiring people, in talent management, in leadership development, what difference has it made? Has it made a difference to us? Can we show using data that it has improved the organization? And then the HR people start to stutter. They start to panic. Their lips start, because they don't understand the importance. They didn't conceptualize that they will one day be asked this question. Then they start to tell stories, long stories. Oh, our employees are happy. You say, how do you know they are happy? Can you show me any data to support it? Oh, employees' performance has improved. How? How can you say performance has improved, but our profit has gone down? Our turnover has gone down. Yet you are saying employees' productivity has improved. The reason is because, Perpetua, you don't understand data, and you don't understand how to use data to support your programs and how to use data to show the impact of your programs. And we will talk a bit about this as we proceed this afternoon. So let me hear from Ladile. Ladile's hand is up. Ladile, please, the floor is yours, and that will be the final comment or question, and we will jump back in after that. Go ahead, Ladile. Ladile, are you there? Or was it a slip of hand? Please put on your microphone. All right, so maybe Ladile was a slip of hand, and maybe we can put down that hand now. Going, gone. All right, so let's pick it up from where we stopped. What are some of the focal areas of HR administrative expertise? And what am I saying here? The question I'm asking is, so what are those key skills? And it speaks to some of the questions that we were asked in the chat group. So number one, HR people should be able to manage projects. HR people should be able to manage HR programs. And I want to explain, what do we mean by programs? We mean, for example, I've given the example, performance management. You have a new performance management system. You are running a management development program for your staff, or a leadership development program. That's a program, that's a project. You need to be able to manage it effectively and efficiently. Another area would be meetings. HR people are involved in meetings. For example, you have an EXCO meeting. HR might be the secretary of that meeting. You have a MANCO meeting. HR might be the secretary of that meeting. HR has to manage those meetings. HR has to manage events. The organization is having an event for its staff. HR has to manage that event. Another very common event is training. So organizations run training events. HR has to manage the training events. Then on the screen, number 3, you talk about things like process efficiency. HR has processes. Those processes need to be managed. HR needs to create metrics and to report on those metrics. Those metrics have to be created and they need to be reported. HR needs to manage risk. There are certain risks in HR. In recruitment, there are risks. In performance management, there are risks. In learning and development, there are risks. In managing people's leave, in managing people's wellness, in managing discipline in the organization, there are risks. There are risks of people just sitting in the organization together and working, because people can get into trouble with each other, people can abuse each other, there can be all sorts of things going on. You need to manage those risks ahead of time. So risk management is an important part. And of course, automation and technology. The use and the appropriate use and deployment of technology to enhance HR processes and to enhance organizational effectiveness. For the person who asked the question about HR as an administrative expert vis-a-vis office administration, can you see that we are not really talking about making sure toilets are clean, ensuring that computers work, that people have files, and so on and so forth? We are discussing significantly more strategic issues here. But these strategic issues are in the domain of administrative expertise. Projects, meetings, processes, reporting and metrics, risk management, automation, and the use of technology. All right? These are some of the core skills. Now, today, of course, we are pressed for time, so we are not going to explore all of these things. We're certainly not going to explore all of these things in a 30-minute conversation or a 1-hour conversation. But here's what we are going to do. We are going to focus on the first two, HR projects and programs, and I would share with you some tools that can help you to optimize, as well as HR meetings and events. And I would share with you some videos that talk about some tools, and they are videos of myself, so don't expect to see my cousin Barack. I'm sure you can see the strong resemblance between Barack and I, but that's left for another day's discussion, right? But those videos will introduce you to some of the important concepts and tools that you can use to maximize the return on your investments in terms of your meetings, right? I will come back to the questions from Ladile, and also a question from Hassan shortly. So just bear with me as we proceed with managing HR projects and programs. So when you have HR programs and projects, what are some of the things that you must do? And these I consider as best practices that, based on contingency theory, which is one of the theories we talked about earlier, the fact that every organization is different, you will need to sort of, apply these things in a different and nuanced way, depending on the realities of your organization. The first thing is that for every program or project you have in HR, whether it is training, whether it is onboarding, whether it is performance management development program, hypo development program. Hypo means high potential, which I talked about, succession planning. Whatever program or project you have, employee wellness program, whatever it is you are doing, even if you are doing a compensation review, if you are trying to benchmark your salaries against the remuneration of other people in your industry, whatever it is, number one, set clear expectations for these programs. Another word for expectations is KPIs. There must be targets. There must be a target. There must be something that you set as an expectation that you want to achieve. You cannot just say, we are doing training, we are doing coaching program, we are doing talent development program, we are doing performance management, and there is no goal. There must be a goal. And that goal must consist of a number of elements based on the Kirkpatrick. And I'm going to talk about Kirkpatrick. So Kirkpatrick is the doyen, is the leading scholar, or was the leading scholar. He must be dead by now. I remember it was in the 1960s. Kirkpatrick and I had breakfast to discuss some of these issues. And if you believe that, you need to have your head examined. The second very important thing is to measure a baseline. So when you set expectations, and I hope we are following, so you set goals that you want, and I'll give you some examples of goals, but it's important to go through this first. You must have a baseline. You must say, okay, where are we today? Where are we today? Because the only way you can demonstrate scientifically, based on data, that your project or your program is in any way valuable and should be sustained is if you have a baseline. So when you set the KPIs, you measure the baseline. The baseline basically means where we are today. Then you must also develop a project implementation plan. What is your plan for this project, for this program? What are the various steps that you are going to take to take you from where you are today to achieving the goals that you set? What's your plan? So you must detail a plan. Then you must track and monitor the progress of that plan. You must be able to, from time to time, look at that plan and say, how are we doing? Have we achieved number 1, number 2? Have we gone through step 1, step 2, step 3? What is the problem with step 4 and step 5? Where are we on step 6? Because this is about disciplined execution. This is the execution premium. If you cannot think and act in a programmatic way, you can't be effective as a human resources manager. Then you must provide periodic reports. You must provide updates. Remember the agency theory. There are certain people sitting at the top of your organization who are watching, who have given you the time, the resources, and sometimes the finances to do these HR programs. And they want to know from time to time what is going on. And you have to tell it to them in a disciplined and concise manner so that they can take data-driven decisions. Remember. Then at the end of the program, you must also measure the end line. Where are we now, 1 year later? Where are we 6 months later? The things that we set out to achieve, have we achieved them? And then, of course, we must be able to report on the expectations. So after you measure the end line and you provide all the periodic reports, then at the end of the year, for example, when the fiscal year ends, you should be able to give a report to the organization that says, these are the things HR did. These are the successes, these are the failures, these are the lessons learned in quantifiable terms, not just proofs. And let me explain. You're not just saying it. You're not just writing long sentences. We did well. The staff are happy. No, you have empirical evidence. You have data. You know why? The people who sit on your board, most of them, they are accountants, they are engineers, you understand? They are economists. And all these people, even if they are not even economists, even if they are shoemakers, even if they are farmers, guess what? When you sit in the board of a company, there's only one discussion that matters: numbers. And if HR people cannot speak the language of numbers, then those HR people will not be, they will not be worthy of the mission. So you must articulate your progress, your successes, as well as your failures in numbers, because numbers is the language of business. Businesses don't speak stories. HR people, unfortunately, my HR colleagues, I'm a HR professional, we tell too many stories. What organizations want to see is numbers. So let's talk about an example of Kirkpatrick's evaluation. And let me explain that concept. But before I do, sorry, there was something I left out. I forgot to mention. Right here on the screen, you would see the word RAGG. R-A-G-G. RAGG is a framework that helps you to develop a project plan, track and monitor the project plan, and provide periodic reports on the project plan. So I'm going to talk about two things now. First, Kirkpatrick, and then RAGG. Okay, so let's start with Kirkpatrick. So the Kirkpatrick's levels of evaluation, there are 4 of them. It is widely used in the foundation of Kirkpatrick was from training. So Kirkpatrick was considered one of the founding fathers of organizational learning, training. And he came up with this theory that if you want to measure the effectiveness of training, you should be looking at 4 dimensions. That when you train people, you want to check number 1, their reaction. Their reaction. Are they happy? Did they enjoy it? That is why at the end of training, HR people give out a form to ask participants, did you like the training? How well did you like it? It is because of Kirkpatrick. If you didn't know, now you know. Participants' reaction. So what does that mean for a HR program? So for example, if you did a coaching program or you did performance appraisals, for example, you just finished your performance appraisals, you want to ask the participants in that performance appraisal, did they enjoy it? Was it sweet? Did they like the way their manager talked to them? So we call it a smiley sheet. It is the first thing you want to evaluate. The second thing you want to evaluate is increase in knowledge. Did that program, that project, did it increase people's knowledge? And a good way to do this is to create a baseline. So for example, if you're doing a training program, a management development program, what would you do? You would do a baseline assessment of managers, all the managers in the company. You would do a test for them or a self-assessment to gauge where they are. Then you will implement the program. Then after 6 months, what will you do? You will do an end line assessment. Then you will check, has the needle moved? The person who was 3/10 before, is he now 6/10 in that particular skill? That demonstrates that your program has increased the knowledge of participants. So if you do a training program, for example, on performance management, you start with a baseline. What do we all know about performance management today in the organization? 2/10. Then, okay, after this training, what do we now know? 7/10. You can report that to your leaders and justify that your performance management program was valuable. Can you see the levels of evaluation? The next level of evaluation is behavioral change. Have the participants in this program, has their behavior changed? Let's say, for example, we did a program on leave administration. We go into the company, we say, look, the way we are taking leave and managing leave is not good. People are not using the proper forms. People are not getting approval in time. People are disrespecting the organization during leave by not paying attention to the modalities for taking leave. So we run that program, we train people, we give them toolkits, we encourage them, we give them pep talks, we sanction them. After 1 year, we ask ourselves, has the behavior changed? Have people started applying for leave using the correct documentation? Have people started applying for leave at the right time? And so on and so forth. We are measuring behavioral change. The third level. And of course, if you think about the levels, they are ascending, meaning the first level is, is child's play. Did you like it? Are you happy? Yeah, that's interesting, but it's not serious. The next level, okay, do you know more? Valuable. But the third level now says, has your behavior changed? Aha, now we're getting to the real issue. And of course, the final level, what's the impact? How has this HR program changed the fortunes of the organization? And this is the critical question that HR people need to ask. I mean, all the other questions are important, but this is where the heart of the discussion is. This is where your stakeholders, remember agency theory, this is where they are very fixated on. That all these things we are doing in HR, how has it improved the organization? And you have to demonstrate this. These are the things that matter. Let me share with you an example of expectations for HR. And I'll use performance management. The trickiest part of HR is performance management. Every HR person, all the research that has been done in the world of HR, anytime you have a HR practitioner, a scholar, an academic, a researcher, ask them, what is the hardest part of HR? 99% of them will tell you performance management. So what are some of the, if a company invests in a performance management program, what are some of the expectations for that performance management program? What are some of the KPIs that, you set up a new performance management program? What are some of these KPIs? And I want you to pay attention to this. This is the trick. We're going to do a small activity. When we finish with these KPIs, I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask you to tell me which of the Kirkpatrick levels of evaluation does this KPI represent? What do you think? You want us to, let's try that? Yeah, so it's a bit of a quiz for everybody. So remember, there are 4 levels of evaluation: reaction, learning, behavioral change, and impact. So look on the screen now. We have 100% of the staff have performance contracts. 100% of managers have performance files. We achieved 100% attendance at our performance management training. Employees scored 90% score on the performance management training. There was a 90% score on the feedback survey of how nice the performance management process is. HR conducted an audit of the KPIs that were developed, and our target is that we should score 90% on the quality of KPIs. HR will also audit the performance files to ensure the performance files are being kept properly, and we expect a 90% quality score on the accuracy of performance files. And I'm talking about a file, like a physical file here, right? And then we expect the 30% increase in the A players. A players are employees who are competent, who know their job, who don't need to be supervised, who can do their jobs with zero supervision and deliver exceptional results. That there will be an increase of 30% of the number of A players in our organization 1 year after this program. Can you notice, everybody, just look at all these KPIs. Can you see they all have numbers attached to it? Can anybody see a KPI here that doesn't have a number? If you can see it, I will give you my 24 karat gold, 18 diamond studded Rolex. Now, I will send it to you electronically. There must be a number, because that is the language that your stakeholders, agency theory, understand. So, to the exercise that I said, who has figured it out? Can you tell me which of these KPIs relate to what in terms of Kirkpatrick's model? This is a good way to test whether we were paying attention and we understood the concept. So who would like to put on their microphone and win an exciting prize this afternoon?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes. I think
Who is speaking to us? Who is speaking to us? Tell us.
Ladele.
Ladele, go ahead. Yes.
Yes. I think 90% scored on the training.
Okay.
Because
yeah, what is that? What is it? Is it, which level of Kirkpatrick is it?
If the participants understood what the training was all about.
Yes, Ladele, I agree with you. So which of the Kirkpatrick evaluation levels is it? There are 4 levels of evaluation according to Kirkpatrick: learner's reaction, increase in knowledge, behavioral change, and impact on the organization. So
increase in knowledge.
Very good. 90% score on performance management training is increase in knowledge, that people will take a test and they will score 90%, meaning that their knowledge has increased. Excellent. Ladele, please receive your virtual chocolate. Catch it. Virtual. Look, it sounds like you like Toblerone chocolate. So I've sent you Toblerone. Then you unwrap it. Then you eat it virtually. And make sure you say, so that the other people will be jealous. Yeah? Thank you very much, Ladele. Miriam, I can see your hand. Please go ahead. What do you want to take a shot at?
Okay, the 100% of managers have performance file.
Yes.
I guess the reaction aspects of the Kirkpatrick's.
Okay, let's explore that together. So think about it, Miriam. Reaction is about, did people enjoy the experience?
Yes.
So is having performance files, that is, managers are required to have a file for each employee called a performance file. So is that really about whether they enjoyed it? It's about something else. Remember, so it meant that
It might not really be about being this thing, they enjoyed it, but the fact that they were able to take charge and carry out that based on what they have learned, they've been able to put in place what they
Yes.
were supposed to put in place.
So that is a behavioral change.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
so Miriam, that is a behavioral change. Before, they didn't have files for their employees. Now they have files. What has happened? Their behavior has changed. Can you see the difference now? So under the Kirkpatrick model, that would be a behavioral change. There was something we were not doing before. There was a behavior we didn't have. I didn't used to keep a file for my employees, for my direct reports. Now I keep a file for them. My behavior has changed. And that's a positive thing. Miriam, what do you think?
Very well. Yes,
all right.
very well.
Excellent. Miriam, please collect your chocolates. Receive it. You sound like you like chocolates. You like chocolate and peanuts. So I've sent you Mars. And
Thank you.
Mars bar. Eat it, enjoy it, and make the rest of the people jealous. Ofonime, finally, let's hear from you. Go ahead, Ofonime. Ofonime,
Okay,
go
good evening, sir. Yes.
Good evening.
So I want to take a shot at the last one.
Very good. I like that.
30% increase in A players after year one. So on the Kirkpatrick's model, that's impact on organization.
Yes, correct. Correct. Impact on organization, because that's what that is going to impact on the performance of the organization. I mean, think about it, Ofonime and everybody. If a company that has 20 employees and you can take 6 of those employees from being ordinary employees, just people who are sitting down, waiting for instructions, waiting for their boss to tell them everything, to people who are top-notch, who are firing on all cylinders, who are A players, who don't need to be supervised, who don't need to be told what to do, who are delivering their targets consistently. What do you think will happen to the profit and loss account of that company? It will explode. That is impact of the organization. So I'm very happy that, from the feedback that we've gotten from the participants so far, there is some increased understanding, right? So those who were asking, how can you build some of these skills? We've started building the skills already. The first thing we've done is to look at, what do you call it? KPIs and the Kirkpatrick model, right? So let's see if we can take some of the questions. Yes, I recall there were some questions from before I jump into the second thing. There were a couple of questions. One from Hassan. Hassan, can a director or CEO play the role of HR in an organization? Well, everything is possible, but it wouldn't be advised. I think that as an organization, let's put it this way. When I first started learning impact, I was the HR director, I was the marketing director, I was the product director, I was the everything director. We had 2 employees, right? I was the finance director. The only thing I wasn't the operations director, because we had an operations person. But as organizations grew, you certainly want to, start to give people more responsibility and hire people who are experts, who are even better than you in certain areas, so that they can be the best in those areas and they can take your organization to the highest level. So I wouldn't really recommend, but I would certainly say that CEOs should understand HR and should understand the proper role that HR plays in their organization, so that they can use HR to achieve the goals that they want. Ladile wanted to ask, is there a difference between talent management and human capital management? So sometimes different scholars, sometimes some people use the words interchangeably. When I think about talent management, I belong to this school of thought. There's a school of thought that says human capital management and talent management are the same thing. But there's a school of thought I belong to that says that talent management is more about the best, not just the human being, but the best human being. It's about everything you do to ensure you have the best. So you can do human capital management and employ ordinary people. But when you are doing talent management, you are employing the best people. That's the way I see it. Some people use the terms interchangeably, but some other professionals and scholars like myself, we prefer to separate the matter and say that, look, human capital management is about managing all the human beings in the organization. Talent management is about identifying the best people, deploying the best people, getting rid of the wrong people, and ensuring that you draw blood, you extract maximum value from the best people that you have. Yeah? So we've done one part of managing HR projects, which was setting the expectations using the Kirkpatrick model. The second part is about project planning. Remember, we talked about that a lot, and I introduced you to RAGG, RAGG. RAGG is a mnemonic that we use to track projects. And the idea behind RAGG is to say that red, amber, dark green, and green are status indicators. So if you look on your screen, there are two things I want you to see. One, I want you to see a project plan and tracker. A project plan is a document that you use to identify the various tasks in your project, the person responsible for those tasks, the timeline for delivering those tasks, and the status of those tasks. So this is a project plan. So every project you have in HR should have a project plan. In that project plan, you will break down all the different tasks of the project, who is responsible, the timeline within which they should complete it, and the status. This project plan is what you will use to report to your stakeholders. Now, so it has three values. It is a plan. It helps you to plan. The second value is that it helps you to track. And the third value is that it helps you to report. So when you want to make a report to your management team about a HR project, you don't start writing 3 pages of talk. You share with them your project plan and tracker. So think about this. Some of you here, when we say prepare reports for the MANCO, for the EXCO, for the OPCO, you know, these days in companies, we have so many big language that we use, all this big English, just to justify our fat salaries. Yeah. Whenever you are preparing a report, some people send reports that are in prose, long 4 pages, 5-page reports. Trust me, nobody has time for that. Here's what people have time for. A 1-page snapshot. This is efficient. This is efficient and effective. A 1-page snapshot that lists the various deliverables of your project or your program and tells us the status. And to discuss the status, we don't tell stories. We don't say, oh, some employees have done it, some managers have not done it. We don't look, the CEOs, we don't have time for all that story. Just show us a column. Red, the deadline has passed and the task was not delivered. Shikena. Amber, the deadline is in view and the task is in progress. Dark green, the task was delivered within the deadline. Light green, the task has been delivered, but it was delivered after the deadline. So let me ask you a question. If you produce a report like this, and the report that's on your screen using red, amber, dark green, and green, which of these issues do you think the board members, if you are presenting to a board, which issue will the board want to explore further? Which of these? There are 5 issues on the screen. Can somebody, for a chocolate, a virtual chocolate, tell me which of these 5 issues will the board want to hear the explanation of?
Mr. Barrow, Rishi Maharaj, I would
Yes,
say the red
exactly.
would be more expected to be explained.
Very good. So you must be prepared to explain the red. And what is
Yes.
the explanation that you think the board really wants to hear? Do they want to hear the
board would-
problems associated
No,
with
they
red?
want to hear. First, we will provide the solution, the reason as to why the deadline was not met, but provide a solution
Very
and
good.
a deadline as to how
Exactly.
and when it will be met.
And when are you going to remedy it? Thank you so much, Rishi. That is all we are interested in. So a 5-page story about the performance. This is a report of the performance management training, blah, blah, blah. Managers, leaders, executives are very busy. They are pursuing bigger issues. They are interested in HR, but you have to tell the story in a way they understand it. And this is a powerful tool to do so. And just like what Rishi just said, you don't want to tell long stories. You want to tell us the performance management training has not been completed because of XYZ. And the solution to address XYZ is as follows: A, B, C. And the expectation is that within 2 weeks, this will be solved, period. They will clap for you. You see the board members, they'll be very impressed. Then they will now ask you, you are a very sound HR professional. Then you know what you will tell them? You will tell them, yes, I am a beneficiary of the Champions of HR program from Learning Impact, facilitated by Omagbishe Barrow. Then you'll be helping me to sell my markets a little more. Does anybody have any questions about managing HR projects and programs? So RAG-G, Ofonime asks, does not accommodate tasks delivered before the deadline. It does. The dark green Ofonime is tasks delivered within the deadline. Within the deadline. Meaning that, yes, it was delivered before or on the day of the deadline. RAG-G accommodates it. And Perpetual was trying to respond to the earlier question, which of these will be managed, will the board be interested in? And she said light green. And I agree with you, Perpetual. So when another thing that board will be interested in is light green. Why do you think, Perpetual, can you think about it? Why do you think they'll be interested in light green? What do you think? The things that were delivered after the deadline. Why would that be of interest to them?
Good evening, sir.
Yes, hi, Perpetual.
Hi, okay. So I think they'll be interested in knowing why the task was delayed, because it was delivered after deadline.
And that is valuable because of what we call in organizational effectiveness, lessons learned.
Yes.
Lessons. We want to learn a lesson from it because there must be a lesson to be learned. And we want to be sure that that lesson has been learned. All right? So very important. Thank you very much for that contribution, Perpetua. Sammy is asking, what does the acronym mean? RAGG. It's on the screen. Red, amber, dark green, light green, or red, amber, big green, and small green. Yeah, and it is as described on the screen right now. Red, the deadline has passed, the task wasn't delivered. Amber, the deadline is in view, the task is in progress. Dark green, the task was delivered within the deadline. And light green, the task was delivered after the deadline. That's what RAG-G. RAG-G is a tool for project management. Actually, let me blow my trumpet a bit. I should stop being too humble. RAG-G was originally RAG. RAG being RAG. And then I added the small g. So I need to publish it and patent it as my own creation. So Sammy then means, what do I mean? The column of responsibility. Oh, Sammy, all those DF and let me see what else is there, JB and TY, those are all the initials. So DF could be Don Fred, TY could be Thomas Yakubu, JB could be John Bassi, TED could be Thomas Equinox, whatever, Durosini, yeah, and so on. So they are the initials of people. Again, what do we call it? Keep it short and simple. Instead of writing people's names in full, just use their initials. It's easier to explain and everybody understands who JB and DF and TY are. All right, so thanks very much for your questions. Clearly, it demonstrates to me that the class is really engaging, is thinking about some of these things, and wants to make sure that by the time they leave this intervention in a few minutes today, that they will have really become experts and administrative experts. So the final part of our talk today, and I can see that we are moving quite well with time and heading towards a 90-minute close for today, is the conversation about meetings. What are some of the common mistakes that we make with meetings? So meetings are critical. And the context of this is to say, look, today we spend more than 70 to 80, sometimes 90% of our working day in meetings. Most people, especially if you're a HR manager. So what are some of those mistakes you should avoid? How do you plan your meetings to get the most value out of them? How do you manage the proceedings of the meeting when you are inside the meeting? How do you make sure that your meetings are effective? And of course, how do you write the minutes of your meetings? So here's what I'm going to try to do. I have 4 short videos. The total playing time of those videos is 12 minutes, right? So I'm just going to play at least 3 of those videos. I think we can certainly play 3 of them. And the 4th one, just so that we can save time, we can certainly post it on the WhatsApp group and make it available to everybody. The videos are not a secret. They are not in any way special. The videos are all available on YouTube, on the online Efiko YouTube page, which we will share with you. And there's so many other amazing videos there for you to watch and to learn from. So the videos are there. And of course, somebody's asking, can the recordings be accessed? Yes, certainly. And can you connect with us? Yes, on the WhatsApp group. So let's watch these videos, as many as we can, around first common meeting mistakes. Okay, so let's bring out the popcorn and enjoy the video. And that's a video of me when I was much younger and much more photogenic. So if you see something in the video that looks more handsome than what you see currently, understand, age has caught up with this man. Enjoy the videos. We'll start with common meeting management mistakes. They are short videos, 2 to 3 minutes each. Just to confirm, can we hear the video? Give me some feedback.
No.
No, not yet.
No, I can't hear the meeting now.
Meetings have become a dominant
Okay, it's
Yes,
okay now.
yes.
All right, enjoy.
Culture in organizations today. In fact, most executives and managers.
The volume has went off. Oh, what happened?
Okay, so I'm getting feedback from participants that they can't hear. Is this everybody or is this just one person?
Yes.
I can't
think
hear
it's
either.
everybody.
The audio is
I'm
gone.
hearing it now. The volume went
I'm
off.
not hearing. I'm not
Okay.
hearing anything.
Okay, so let's try something, right? I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll try to reshare it, right? And let's see whether that will improve. Sorry about that. So it's important to get the feedback. Let's try to share this again.
To get a better return on our meeting investments, meeting management mistakes.
So are you hearing now? Hello?
Yes, I was, but like it's paused now.
Yes, I paused it so that you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
I will share with you right away.
We're not hearing it right now.
We cannot hear again.
Setting ground rules for the proceedings of the meetings. And even when you have ground rules, then not insisting on the rules that have been set. Very importantly, many times we do not manage the time and we allow the meeting to spill beyond the time set.
So were you hearing now?
Yes, we were. It's fine.
Yes. Remember, so many people being very busy around meetings. It means that the discipline of meeting timeliness is very important. In addition to that, not assigning specific responsibility to meeting action points and ending the meeting without a review and summary of action points and responsibilities. You see, there are many things that people do wrong with meetings, but these are certainly my top 7 things. Organizations and managers must learn to avoid these mistakes and build the capacity to manage their meetings better.
All right, so the first one was about 7 common meeting management mistakes. And I know that because of the stopping and starting, some of you may have missed some of it, so don't worry about that. We will share all the videos on the WhatsApp group and we can pick up the discussions from there. But I thought it was important to share some of it here so that we can have a discussion around them. So let's watch the second video, right? So the second video is around some of the how to plan your meetings. Yeah, so let's watch that video. Can we hear it?
Most of the classic mistakes of meeting management that professionals and managers make have to do with a lack of planning or the ineffective planning of meetings. When you actually take time to plan and prepare for your meetings, you are most likely to get the most out of them. Now, good meeting planning requires you to begin with the end in mind and pay attention to a number of important things that I'll be sharing with you right away. The first is that you should plan the attendance. Ensure that you scope the attendees for the meeting and ensure that everyone who is attending the meeting or who you have invited to attend the meeting has a role to play and is aware of what that role is. You see, people get irritated when they are invited to a work meeting where they are not required and do not know what role they are actually playing in the meeting. In addition to planning the attendance of the meeting, it is also very, very important that you plan the agenda of the meeting. In planning the agenda of the meeting, you should ensure that you have an agenda that spells out the expected proceedings at the meeting with time allotted to each agenda item and the anchor for each item clearly stated. Now, if more than one person will be leading each item, it is important to also state it on the agenda. Also ensure that all the attendees get the agenda in a sufficient enough amount of time so that they can study it and prepare adequately for the meeting. So we've talked about planning attendance and planning the agenda. Thirdly, you've got to plan the proceedings. In doing this, you must ensure that you think ahead about any possibilities that will take place during the meeting. Plan for resources, for example, pens, paper, flip chart, markers, as well as your audiovisual equipment. Plan for these resources and, where necessary, before the meeting starts, check that they work. In addition to planning your resources and your equipment, you should also plan the recording of the proceedings of the meeting. This requires you to ensure that the secretariat is well set up and have all the materials that they need to record the proceedings of the meeting properly. I strongly recommend the use of a meeting tracking sheet for the attendees also, so that individuals who are in the meeting can also track the proceedings of each meeting. This way, I have found, no one sleeps off during the meeting and everyone can be held accountable for the things that take place in the meeting. Very importantly also, plan the outcomes. Ensure that at the end of the meeting, there is a review and a summary of outcomes and accountabilities, and that this summary is communicated to all separately and project managed aside from the official minutes of the meeting. You will no doubt agree that better planned meetings, like I have just described, will certainly create higher meeting return on investments. So next time you are organizing a meeting, please pay attention to these 5 areas of effective meeting planning.
All right. Great. So let me stop sharing this. Let's get back into our slides. Let's look for where we are, and let's promise to deliver the remaining videos on the WhatsApp group so that we can manage time. So finally, what are some of the lessons that you have learned from the 2 videos you have watched so far? So there are 4 videos on meeting ROI, and we were able to watch 2 of them. Perhaps with a show of hands, can someone share with me, what some of the lessons that you can take away from these 2 short videos that you have watched? Anybody? No lessons? Well, people are too shy.
Yeah, can I comment?
Yes, so go ahead. Go ahead, Ecliffe.
Okay. So as a CEO, managing director, what this video has done for me is reinforce a little of what I already know, and also how to manage my expectation if a team member calls a meeting with everybody else. And as I said, how to record the meeting. So therefore, we're not supposed to assume that the person as the person calling the meeting, they're not, or the HR manager, not supposed to assume the team members coming to the meeting supposed to know to work with pen and paper. They're supposed to know to work with the laptop or device to record the meeting. So we don't assume, as own your role and lead by managing the expectations that you want out of a meeting, and the outcome. So and preparation, what I've learned is because of preparation, you could execute a seamless meeting. And also what I like, when you're setting an agenda, like for example, you have a team member and marketing, sales, other department operations, they come into the meeting as well, even though they know and we know that they come to report on this matter, we still reminding them on what they come to report on. And what that does, it also let other departments know what the other department is coming to report on. So I appreciate, so for that, it's something that I really appreciate. And it also let me know what to expect whenever a team member calls a meeting.
Very good. Thanks very much for sharing those thoughts. Miriam has a hand. Miriam, please go ahead. Thank you, Ecliffe.
Okay, it's very cool to get this video watched because it's a kind of an encouraging video to help one at least add to the knowledge you already have. Yeah, like I said yesterday, basically I used throughout yesterday to prepare for my meeting, our management meeting that is going to hold next week. And so that preparation was really, really very important. Like you emphasized in that video, preparation is the key thing. If you're not prepared, the meeting will not be anchored in an organized manner. So it's very, very important. But one lesson I am trying to learn from this is the summary aspect. Summarizing everything that was discussed in the meeting at the end of the meeting, so that people that have responsibilities have to be reminded that these are the responsibilities and tasks that they have been assigned, and they should ensure that they don't forget. They should note it down and be able to. But before now, I think what I do is just to emphasize, like our agenda in our meeting is a kind of reporting from all the line managers. They do reporting of their activities within the 1 month period for the meeting. And so from that reporting line, I do a summary. I pick up the main issues and then deliberate on the issues that need to be attended to for emphasis and getting more opinion from other or suggestion from other line managers as to solutions to those problems, which eventually I'll do my report and send to management. So, but now from this, I'm also picking a point that after the entire meeting, one can actually do a summary and then task responsibilities can be summarized and people get to know the points of activities that they need to take further. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Miriam. And your comments are echoed by Christiana. And Christiana says she likes the meeting tracker. I love it too. I actually implemented that for the first time many years ago when I worked at Stanbic IBTC. And it's very interesting because it challenges everybody to track their own meeting, to track the meeting. So it's not just about the secretary or the secretariat or the HR manager taking down the minutes and tracking. Everybody is tracking. And here's what will happen, Christiana. At the end of the meeting, our CEO at that time would stop and he would ask, Christiana, can you tell me what the action point for the legal department is? Meanwhile, Christiana is in the finance department. So he's throwing you off balance, meaning if you didn't pay attention to the meeting, then at the end of the meeting, you won't remember what the action point for legal was, what the action point for compliance was, what the action point for marketing was. That way, by the next meeting, everybody is attentive. Nobody is sleeping. So it is a very good tool. And I'm happy to share with that tool and we can discuss that tool as well as other tools and feedback on the WhatsApp group. Yeah. So Adobe also sent some of her thoughts. Oluchi also sent thoughts. So thank you all for your contributions. So let's review today. So what have we done? We started off theoretical foundations, exploring agency theory and contingency theory and the resource dependency theory. And I'm using those theoretical foundations to sort of get us to understand why HR should be an administrative expert. And then we talked about some of the focal areas for administrative expertise for HR people. And then we talked about 2 areas: implementing HR programs and projects, using Project Planner with the RAG, using the setting goals for your projects that are numerical, that are smart, using that powerful concept of Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation. And then we ended with managing meetings and getting the best results from our meetings. And we're able to watch 2 out of the 4 videos. The first one on the common mistakes that people make with their meetings, and the second one on how to plan your meetings. And like I promised, I will share the slides with you. So you're going to get the slides. People have asked. You're going to get the links to those videos on the WhatsApp group, right? And then you're also going to get a video recording of this session on the WhatsApp group. So being a member of that WhatsApp group is critical, because that's the way we are going to keep in touch. I saw some people earlier indicating their WhatsApp addresses. Please feel free to connect with the program administrator right now, and reach out to us so that we can add you to the WhatsApp group, because there's lots of action going on in the WhatsApp group in terms of follow-ups. And then there was a question about, what about the previous sessions in terms of, yes, so if you are a member, you would also get access to that. But luckily for you, if you just go to, and I'm going to put it on the group now, I'm going to chat with everyone in the meeting and just put it out there. If you go to www.onlineefico.com, right? No, sorry. If you go to YouTube, not Online Efico. If you go to YouTube and you look for the Online Efico on YouTube, the Online Efico is our YouTube channel, and it has all the videos from the previous sessions there. So you can actually go there and watch some of the videos. They are usually released a bit later on YouTube. So the first release of the videos comes on the WhatsApp group to the past participant, and then later on, a few weeks later, it's released on YouTube, for the general public. So if you don't have access to all the old videos, feel free to go to YouTube to the Online Efico. And if you want to learn more about different things, different areas of work and professional and business skills, you can also take advantage of our online learning platform and courses at www.onlineefico.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very happy for the time and that you have spent with us this morning into the afternoon, and this afternoon into the evening, depending on where you are in the world. And we are grateful for your continuous engagement and interest in building yourself as a HR champion. And we look forward to seeing you same time, 3rd Saturday of the month, here, same station. And if you are with us on WhatsApp, you will continue to connect with us and learn and get more things from us. All of this is free, and it's really our own way of supporting the building of HR champions across the world. My name is Omagbishe Baro, and our company is Learning Impact. And on behalf of my colleagues and our board and our management team, some of whom are here, I'd like to thank you all and wish you an excellent weekend, rest of the weekend, and a fruitful week ahead. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you, and thank you so much for your feedback. Luckily, my head is expanding. It may expand so much from some of that feedback that it may come out of camera, just in case that happens. If you see my head growing too big, just understand it's because of all that amazing feedback from you. Thank you all. Bye-bye, everyone. So long.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Well, auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.